guys, it's Adia, Erin, and Katie, and we are 29 and chronically online. Before we get into this episode, we just wanted to remind you to follow us wherever you listen to podcasts. We also have an Instagram at 29 and .co and a TikTok at 29 and co. And guess what? We have a YouTube, where you can watch all of our videos. So we love you guys. Thanks so much for listening. Now let's get to the good stuff.
Greetings, gentle listeners. Welcome back to 29 and Chronically Online. We are Katie and Erin, and again, there's only two of us. We miss her. Come back soon, sister.
When will you return from war?
When will you return from war? Your wives are waiting in the wings.
Are you fighting Napoleon?
Are you?
That was relevant in book 8, so...
That was.
Forgetting.
Spoiler alert.
No.
But today, gentle listeners, we are going to be talking about Bridgerton Part 2. We will be discussing books 3, 5 through 8.
Yep.
So hope you got your tea and crumpets ready, got your sandwiches, and let's move on to the tea.
I love that. Thank you so much for taking that away, Erin, because my British accent was devolving into Cockney, which is way further from Bridgerton than the ton than it needed to be. And you're really carrying your team there.
I was
so
like,
thank you so much.
I was talking in like a higher like part of my voice, and I was like, just to keep myself posh. So
yeah. Posh is so hard. So thank you to really all of the actors that are living their best lives and able to do that for us. So
exactly.
Anyway, so I guess, if you're listening to this episode, you probably watched our first Bridgerton episode and are hopefully coming back for more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you didn't come from that episode, you should probably maybe watch that episode or watch this episode and then go back and watch that one because it's a fun little connect.
This episode is definitely going to be a little bit less of what you may have seen about Bridgerton already, out in the world, because we are talking about the books that have not yet been made into like shows or, seasons of the Bridgerton show that's on Netflix. So there will be spoilers in this episode. We should have mentioned that last time, but we talked about the show. So if people have watched that, we're good.
I'm just assuming that like, if you're listening to our Bridgerton episodes, like there will be spoilers and you are opening yourself up to spoilers. Like
exactly.
It'll be there.
Exactly. And, I just felt like we should get that out of the way early, especially because we're making it to the end of this series. So we're not just talking little spoilers. We're talking
books worth.
Yeah. We're talking about one book. We're talking about 5 books.
Yeah.
And
so
not
be
one
ready.
of them has been made into a season yet.
No. And will one of them be made into a season? We don't know. We're begging.
We're fingers crossed for
Shonda,
because
begging on my knees, please.
Well, if you guys listened to our last episode, you will know that Erin and I rated the last 3 books like in our top 3, basically. Well, except for me and Hyacinth. But so we are hoping and begging and praying that we get to those
like the people who were worried about like their fave books not being shows, that's us. Like Francesca being Katie's number 1, Hyacinth being my number 1, like we're begging.
Yeah. The problem is I have been through this before with Netflix, just generally speaking, because I read Shadow and Bone and 6 of Crows, and guess what? That got canceled after season 2. I have also read all 5 of the Lockwood & Co. books, and that was canceled after season 1.
Devastating.
Season 1, devastating. So I have been through this before, and I'm just opening myself up to heartbreak and failure and, another bout of like PTSD, basically, but... Fingers crossed, because they're hopefully making Netflix millions and millions because the
with
views
all
on these seasons,
on these seasons and the the extra things they're like doing like randomly.
My Bridgerton candle.
There's a whole Bath and Body Works line. Do we
Which
both
we
have
are
things from
promoting
it?
and
Yes. This episode is sponsored by Bath and Body Works Bridgerton collection.
but it's not. But if you would like to send us some candles, we will promote them
We
in our
will.
next few episodes, not just
We
Bridgerton
will.
related.
Even like until you stop sending me candles, I will stay promoting.
Same, same. I mean, I got one burning in the back. I can talk it up right now. I bought this Smell Unseen. I bought this online, no
Mhm.
smell needed, and I'm living my best life. So
I have two. I have Wisteria Garden. That one's a little sweet, a little fruity, a little florally. I know you hate florals, but
ooh.
like I'm living my best life
But
with
our
it.
listeners might like florals.
Exactly. And then I have the second one is the Bridgerton Study, and that one is more woodsy, more a Bridgerton man gave me that candle.
Since we're diving in, I have Queen Charlotte's Tea Room, and it is definitely giving tea room. I was expecting a little bit more bergamot, a little bit more like they jasmine. I guess it is kind of jasmine-y because it's a little florally,
Mm.
but not
Mhm.
overpowering.
Good.
And then Erin already knows I bought her Diamond of the Season for her birthday, and then it
You
showed up in
did.
my home, and
And you're
we will
like,
be keeping it.
it's mine now. And I said,
It's like
fair enough. Like,
it's what I wanted. It's like
valid.
it kind of reminds me of honey, like a little bit. Like it's sweet, but it's
Ooh.
not floral. So check your local Bath and Body Works, I
Go to
guess.
your that was just a full commercial for Bath and Body Works, and we're not getting paid a cent.
Unpaid.
So
That's how you know it's a good
someone
line because
exactly.
we just did it.
We just did it.
But yeah, so we are, fully influenced basically, and we are
Absolutely.
trying to keep Bridgerton alive to make it to the seasons we want to see.
Mhm.
So that's what we're going to talk about today, the seasons we want
Yes.
to see.
Let's I feel like we need to get the one we don't wanna see out of the way.
Oh, okay, so we're going
And
to go
then
out
we
of
can
order a little bit.
or I mean, I guess we could talk
It should
I don't know.
be close to the
Let's
start.
go
I
in
mean,
order.
we'll just okay, because I mean, we'll start with Benny,
Yeah.
our
So our
fave.
King
Well, I mean,
Benedict.
yeah, our King Benedict. I can't wait for his season. Everybody else can't wait for his season.
Mhm.
He was my number 2 book, so I've
Yeah.
been waiting.
I've been waiting for you at the
um,
door. Yeah.
no, for real. His book is, as I mentioned in the last episode, basically a Cinderella retelling. Like
Mhm.
he and Sophie meet at this masquerade ball, and he doesn't know who she is. Obviously, they're wearing masks. It's a whole masquerade. And then she like runs out because she's not supposed to be at this ball, and he basically never forgets her. But then the funny thing is, she starts working. Was she working for the family? She was like a lady's maid to Eloise, wasn't she? For a little bit.
She because drama happened at the place she was working. Benedict then found her and brought her to his family's house.
Yes. So she recognizes him immediately, but he
Mhm.
doesn't recognize her because of the whole mask thing. Did he take off his
Yeah.
mask at the
I
masquerade?
don't
I feel
think
like there
he
was
had a
something
mask
there.
on. He was like, "I'm a
Yeah,
Bridgerton, like, I
yeah,
don't need this. It's at my
exactly,
house." I think it's their mom's
exactly.
masquerade.
I
And
thought
so he
so
was like,
too.
"I don't need this mask on." And then she obviously had it on because she
Yeah,
was, 1, not out in society, and then 2,
exactly.
she was, like, not invited.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
because spoiler alert, her again, it's the Cinderella telling, like, her evil
Yeah,
stepmother and stepsisters were there,
yeah,
and they just make her clean and blah, blah, blah. She's Cinderella.
yeah,
So, she was not there, but then the other, like, servants in the house were like, we'll get you ready. We'll do this, blah, blah, blah." And they got
yeah.
her there.
And something like I love. I feel like their love story to me felt pretty organic generally, like because she obviously recognizes him, but he doesn't recognize her, which is like kind of questionable. Like he loved her so much, like in the moment, but couldn't
Mhm,
recognize her voice.
mhm.
But whatever, we're looking past that. But
It
they
was also,
do
like, 3
genuinely
years,
fall
wasn't
in.
it?
It was,
So,
yeah.
like, I get
But
not,
they
like
do
yeah.
yeah, exactly. But they do fall in love, like, at that country house. Like, he's
Mm,
sick, she takes care of him, and I feel like they get to spend some time together there, and so
mhm,
I think for me, that's why I ended up liking their story, even though the basis is Cinderella, like,
mhm,
we
mhm.
still got to see like, we were talking about how Penn and Colin, it just felt like 0 to 100. Like, it
Yeah.
was that way because that's how Regency Society was. It was like, we're courting or we're not. Like,
Yeah.
but I
Mhm.
also just felt like they did get to know each other a little bit. Like,
Yeah.
she, spent time with him, took care of him, nursed him back to health, got to know her. And
Mhm.
like, I just felt like that was very like natural for them. And I loved it. Also, just, I don't know, Benedict was like a very benevolent character in his book. Like, I don't know, I loved his character. I don't know.
Mhm.
I was also picturing, obviously the guy who
Yeah.
is cast as him and we all love
Other
him. And
Luke,
he's
yes.
giving like, yes, he's giving goofy, he's giving like playful. And I feel like
Mhm.
that makes like lines up with what I was reading, like, which is
Yeah.
great because we've talked already about how some of it like didn't make sense in the book of like, that's not
Mhm.
who that person is. So
Yes.
he's my number 2 and I can't wait. I can't wait. I don't know. What are your thoughts on the book? I know he's a little further down for you. I think he was 5, but I
He was
mean,
tied with
thoughts generally?
Anthony
Yes.
for like they were
Yeah.
basically 4 or 5. I liked him. I think I just wasn't like I think
Obsessed.
yeah, I wasn't obsessed because I feel like after hearing so much online about it and like just everyone being like, "Oh my god, I
True.
love Benedict, like Sophie Benedict." I was like, "Okay, like I'm
Yeah.
here for this like great, beautiful, wonderful, like amazing love
True.
story." And
It
when
was
I was reading it, I
overhyped.
was like, "Well, this is just like a Cinderella love like retelling." And
Yeah.
then I was like, I mean, it's like I like it, but I wasn't like I'm obsessed. But I do love the actor. Like I love Luke. So I was
Yeah.
like, I am ready for him to like finally get his time in the sun and be able to like be the
Be
lead
the
because I would love to
lead.
see that. But I think that's where I was coming from the books because it was like
Yeah.
so hyped up online.
Mhm.
And then
I could see
not
that because the girls
yeah.
online are obsessed with, like, even to this
Yeah.
day, I mean,
Yeah.
Sophie Benedict, Benedict Sophie. So I did miss out on that. Like, I was there,
Yes.
the girls were talking about Benedict, but nobody was talking about
Not
Benedict
in
Sophie.
that
So
way.
it
Yeah,
wasn't
yeah,
for
yeah.
me like overhyped necessarily. So I
Yeah.
went in a little more blind, probably. Like I
Mhm.
could totally see if you're going in thinking like it's everyone's favorite, like we're
Well,
so
everyone was
ready, and then
like,
it was like,
"It's
what?
like this they were like, "This beautiful, wonderful love story, like, Benedict and Sophie," and I was reading it, and I was like, "Okay, yeah, it's, like, a really good love story, like,
But like
I'm
it's not
enjoying this," but I was
groundbreaking.
like, "It's
Yeah.
not the best thing I've ever heard in my
Yeah.
life." So I think that is why, like, he ended up
It kind of
lower on the list, but, like, just know like, let's all know that as I was reading, like, books 1 through 5, like, he was, like, number 2.
yeah,
He
he
was
was
up
pretty
there.
high up. That's why I was so shocked when you were doing your ranking because I was like, I
Yeah.
remember Benny being higher than this, but then
I know, but
6, 7, 8
then
really came
6,
through
7,
for
8
us.
really
So
came for us, and I was like, "Wow, I'm
yeah,
loving this."
yeah, which is wild because don't you think by like a sixth, seventh, or eighth book you would run out of ideas? But no, it just got
Exactly.
better for us.
Exactly. I think Julia Quinn was able to since they're all so young in the beginning books, except for, Francesca, like, I mean, she's similar to Eloise's age, but, like, Hyacinth and Gregory, like, Julia could have gone
Like,
anywhere with those
yeah,
people, and, like, we
hmm
would have just been fine. Like I
right,
loved it.
yeah,
So I really enjoyed those last books that it didn't seem like the norm like Bridgerton books. It
honestly,
just like felt
it
like a
felt like they
different
were
kind of
written after.
series. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they were like 2018, but whatever.
Exactly.
I'm
Exactly.
here for it though.
Yeah, same
Um,
same.
I love that. So fingers crossed Benedict's next. I feel like given his age, like no offense to Luke, I love him, but like how much longer are we pushing this off for this man? You know what I mean? It's like
I know.
we can't do a disservice and have Eloise
Well,
first. Like we can't do it.
we we cannot also like it would just I don't know mess up the books and it's like why
Yeah.
like Benedict is like what 2 years younger than Antony when they get married, like,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
and, like, that's the difference between, like, him and
And
Sophie, and
5 years
then
and yeah. The thing the
I
thing
don't
too
know.
is like this is not what the girls are gonna want, but we've talked already a little bit about how after, like, Daphne's season, they're not really seen anymore. Like, after Benny's season, girls, he
Yeah,
literally
he
lives in the
stays out
country.
in the country, like,
He
he
never comes back to this
he showed
ever
up
again.
for, spoiler alert, Eloise's book to, like,
Yeah,
force
right.
Sir Philip to marry Eloise, and
And that's it.
that's the
We never heard from
basically
that
the
man
only time
again.
we see him, so I kind of like, if we're thinking about it that way, I kind of want his season to be like later, like keep him
Shaw.
in, but also like I want him to like have his love and like find that and be happy, because like in the show he's like going through so much, like trying to figure out who he is, like as the second eldest, like because he still has responsibilities, but like obviously not as much as you know, the Viscount and such. So I'm excited to see it.
I know. I am too, because I feel like, you know, what they've done a little bit with some of these characters is given them other love interests. So we'll talk a little bit about Eloise when we get there, but I feel like he's kind of gotten that too with like, you know, there's been all these kind of different, like he's been seen at the artist parties and stuff. So it's like opening him up a little bit more in society. So it does kind of seem like, how are they going to bring him in? But that kind of gets him a little bit more, like you said, like, who is he? He's trying to figure out for himself. Like he gets a little more for him to do in these books or in the show too, because it's like, what is he just doing chilling, you know?
Yeah, I just had like a vision. I was like, I want to see him, like, I know like him and Sophie meet at like a masquerade ball. I'm hoping that like at this, like in this season 3, they make like an art, like one of the artists like masquerade parties, and so that's where he meets Sophie.
You know, it would be
could
kind of
like
nice
to
if
just
they
like
changed
bring
her from a Cinderella story. Like we don't need the stepsisters. We just need the masquerade. That's all I need.
We just need the
from
masquerade,
him.
or like, I mean, if they want, like, she could just be, you know, following her siblings there, or her sisters there. Like, I don't know, like something, like some reason if they want to keep like the evil stepsisters and like kind of, you know, or one evil stepsister, because the other one is nice. But if they want to keep that vibe,
because
like
that was the main issue in their storyline, was like Sophie was like, I can't, like, we can't be together. Like, I'm not gonna be
your mistress, like blah blah blah.
Yeah. So I feel like they probably will have to keep something of like in a similar vein to that, because she's not going to be able to integrate into society because of her, you know, her sisters or whatever. But
so I mean, if they could do that and then bring that in, and then because there is 2-3 years in between like them meeting the first time and then them meeting the second time, so I feel like they need to do that. It can't just be, because that's part of like, he doesn't remember her. He like remembers like the thought of her, but like doesn't remember her. So I'm like,
her ambiance.
I feel like that could be like the vibe, like how they do it and how they intro her like into this.
So fingers crossed we get a masquerade ball this season, whether it's a ball or whether it's an art party,
like the artist party. Something.
I'm open to anything at this point. I just
once again on our knees begging Shonda,
literally on our knees begging Shonda, please. The girls were hoping at the end of season 2 for a masquerade, and we didn't get it, and I can't go through this again. I need the end of season 3 even we could do a masquerade mid season 3. I mean,
honestly, maybe that's the like party that like Colin is leaving out of when he sees Penelope's carriage going away. Like, we don't know.
This is true.
Just like you're interworking and intertwining like all these books anyway, so just make it happen. It could, the world is your oyster. Make it happen.
He can meet Sophie anytime. I would, how iconic would it be? I'm projecting now for no reason.
Okay.
We've been talking about well, hat time, ladies. We have been talking about the issue of like the mid-season drop situation. I would be obsessed if he met Sophie at the end of season or episode 4, and then it was just like it cut. But they're definitely going to do like Penn and Colin like on a cliffhanger. But like, how amazing would that be?
Like
episode
the scene
4,
right before would be to die for. So like
we just move on.
I'm hoping like they're at the party. She is like, leaves and like goes into the carriage. So like they meet at the party, and then like we cut to like Colin like watching Penelope follow her out
in her carriage.
Boom, and done. And end to see episode 4.
Exactly.
We have notes, Netflix.
Penelope and Colin. Literally, Shonda, begging on my knees. I know season 4 or season 3 is already written, already produced, already cut. If it doesn't end with the Benedict Sophie cliffhanger and also Penelope Colin one, like Erin just mentioned, I'm not watching the last 4 episodes. I'll say that right now.
I cannot have you just watch the first 4 episodes. We're in this together,
No,
Katie.
but it's an amazing idea, and I think that they should listen to us. And if it hasn't been
I do
shot, let's
too.
do it right now.
I
I
know
feel
you
like
have
I need
editors
in
in
my
the
life.
editing room right now. Like, make it happen. Thank you.
But we get so many other storylines, like with Queen Charlotte and with the
Mm-hmm.
Featheringtons. It's like, why couldn't we? Why can't Benedict have a moment and meet? So, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
there's, I mean, he could, you could do all this season next all you want. I mean, but there's time. There is time. As long
Mm-hmm.
as he meets her, that's enough for me to start this train and
Exactly.
get my
I
brain
just
going.
need the one meet.
I need
And I
that.
need
I
to
need
see
something to hold on
who
to.
Sophie
Yeah,
is. Hopefully a Black queen. I'm on my knees begging. Thank you.
we are praying. I've seen some amazing like fan casts,
I
and
have
I am
too.
praying. I'm
I'm
praying.
loving all of them so far.
The problem with her story or their story being a Cinderella retelling is I'm seeing so many of Lily James, the girl that was
Oh,
in
yeah,
Mamma
yeah.
Mia, and it's like cut the camera. It's like
Cut
she's done
it.
Cinderella.
Cut
She
it.
did that
Yeah.
once already. She's not coming back to do this. Sophie's
Mm.
not Cinderella, first of all. Like let's throw that out there. Sophie's
Mm-hmm.
coming back. So yes, we are praying for a Black queen because I just feel like that would really
It would just like, I
we
feel
need
like it's
that. We need
Benedict.
that.
Like, Benedict
Yeah,
is not
yeah.
here for just this, like,
No, blonde white girl. I really
blonde
don't
white
think so
girl. Yeah.
either. I really
So
don't think so either. I just like
I don't see it, and
I
that's
don't see it
fine,
either.
but get it
Yeah.
together.
So there's that.
Mm-hmm.
Are we there?
I think if you have nothing else to say about Benedict, I think we are there.
Okay. Well, unfortunately I don't because I just tinfoil hatted us all the way to the end of time. So if you guys listened to our first episode, you already know both of us put Eloise's book at number 8. And that's who we're talking about next, unfortunately.
Yes. Eloise, our headstrong, independent girly pop
Yeah.
now becomes a
R.I.P.
submissive like why?
Housewife, stepmom. Yeah.
Housewife, stepmom, like whatever.
I don't know how they're gonna reconcile. Like they have made her so independent in the show. She's got a
Mhm.
love interest with this
She's
newspaper
got a love
boy, and
interest with the
then
yes.
yeah, yeah,
That just feels like Eloise, like someone who's not in her rank, someone who's just
yes,
like doing good or like helping, whatever. And it's just sad
it
like
is.
knowing what is to come.
Yeah,
And it's like
yeah. So
they
spoiler alert for our our listeners. In the book, Eloise ends up with Sir Philip Crane, who has been in the show already. He marries Marina. So we've seen him a few times already.
that's another thing. That's another
I
thing we
knew
need
this
to
would
talk
open a can of
about.
worms. Yeah,
Thank
yeah,
you.
yeah.
Thank you for mentioning it. Because why did they give Marina, who I literally hated the whole first season, why did they give her such a storyline when she's in 0.3 seconds of the prologue in
Yeah.
Eloise's book and then she's no more? Like
Well,
she
and it was so random too because she was Colin's love interest, which what
exactly.
like he wasn't even looking for a love interest. Like even
Exactly.
until his book, he wasn't even looking for Colin wanted
Until
Penelope.
he
Like
saw Penelope like go off in the carriage, he was not looking for a love
yes,
interest. So I don't
yeah,
know why they like fed
had to make
us
it
this
more than it
Marina
was.
like whole thing. And I get they're here for the drama and they need
Yeah,
like all these stories and like whatever. But I just thought it was unnecessary,
it
Like
was
I feel like they
because
could have
why
like
are we
brought her
tying
in, mentioned
in
her, whatever. But her being, I
a
don't
pivotal
know.
character in Eloise's story
Yeah.
without even knowing is so wild. Like,
Mm-hmm.
but I guess okay, in a weird way because isn't Marina like a cousin of the Bridgertons? So
Yes.
when she dies in the prologue and she starts
Like,
writing to Sir Philip, it's because of a familiar relation. So I guess like I could see like
yeah.
maybe she got close to Marina during the speed like because she was Penelope's like friend or whatever because they weren't
Yeah.
related. It was like Penelope's dad had like a he owed money to
Aside,
somebody or
yeah.
whatever. Yeah,
So they didn't
but I guess
they
like
didn't
that
even
could connect
keep
her and Eloise, but
they didn't even keep the like familiar like the family tie between Marina and the
Yeah,
Bridgertons, because they make her somebody from the
like
Featherington side. So it's
outside,
like,
yeah,
here's
doesn't
this,
really
and
tie
then
in.
like Eloise is not helping Marina. Penelope's helping Marina. Like in the first,
Yeah,
she's like,
that's true.
how is this? Blah blah blah. And so it just like didn't make sense. Like after
No.
reading the book, I was like,
Oh,
hello, what is
no,
this?
none of this made any sense. So a lot of people are speculating online, like a lot of what Eloise has been wearing in the trailers for season 3 and like the teasers has a lot of flowers on it, and
Mhm.
Philip is like a
He's a
botanist or
botanist,
whatever.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
So a lot
like
of people are like,
it's
okay, they're gonna
coming.
kind of keep that. Yeah, they're gonna keep it going and whatever. But like,
Mm,
I don't see how we're gonna get from Eloise in her current season to Eloise. Like even in the book, she's more headstrong than
mm,
any of the other characters and
mm-hmm.
stubborn, and she's not looking for a man. She's like a spinster, but
She
she loves
literally,
it and like
yeah,
living her best life. Like, so I
yeah.
don't know how we're going to get to those two places. Also,
Mm-hmm.
I remember viscerally hating Philip in the book. He was so grumpy in such the worst way. Like not even
He's
like
just
cute
like,
grumpy,
he's
just
just
like
like a bad
annoying.
dad, a bad like person. He
Yes,
doesn't care about anything but his plants. He just stays in
yes.
there. And it's not even like he was so like mean,
They tried
like
to
not mean
sell
to
us.
Marina, but like he was not a good husband to her.
No, because she
Like
clearly
he
had like postpartum depression, and
literally,
he just did not even care. He was
she,
like,
and even
"She's
like before
fine."
that, like she was her she was engaged to Philip's brother, and then
Yes.
he
Yeah,
died
yeah,
in the
yeah.
war, and then Philip was like, okay, I'll marry her. So she was already depressed there, and then
Yeah.
they had their 2
Yeah, 'cause she
kids,
was actually in
and
love with his
then
brother. It was like a true love match too. It
literally it
wasn't
was
like
a
she was
love
just
match.
engaged
Yeah,
to
yeah,
this
yeah.
man. Like, yeah, they were,
Exactly.
yeah.
So it's just he's just
Poor
not a good
Marina in those
guy.
books. Yeah. Philip, there's nothing redeeming about that man. Like, he did not care about his first wife. He really, to me, I never, even by the time I finished the book, I never bought that he actually loved Eloise. I feel like he just wanted a mom for the kids. Like, that is what I
That
felt. And
I would say
Eloise, for
like,
me, is not, she's not a step, like, she is a stepmom, obviously, and she
yeah,
ends up
yeah.
loving her stepkids, and that's great. But, like,
Mhm.
her character up to that point was
Mhm.
not necessarily like that maternal. She wasn't like, I'm
No.
like looking for love in a baby. Like, it was so, like, the fact that she was just
It
thrust
was
into this
so
role
it was
because she
so
wanted it.
odd.
It's
It
so
was so
weird. It's so
odd that they
misogynistic, I feel
decide.
like.
First of all, yeah. It was so odd that they decided that Eloise would be the one who like just
Like
thrown
a
into the
stepmom.
stepmother role. And
Yeah.
like, I mean, even if they had done that with like Daphne, I could have
I could
seen it
see that.
more,
I could.
but I was like, this is not like, this
This
just
is not my
goes
girl
against
Eloise.
everything that you've written about Eloise, and it's just like
Yeah.
not, I don't know, it's just not
Yeah.
what it is.
And I feel like
But
he said something near the end of the book that was like, "Oh, and you can't hate this marriage because my first marriage was worse," or so, like he said something like really odd, like and
yeah,
off-putting, and it's like,
I feel like
what?
he just stayed saying weird and off-putting things.
Okay, true,
Uh
true.
he like just wanted a warm body. It really
No,
is
for
what it is.
exactly,
He wanted someone to take
exactly.
care of his kids so he didn't have
Yep.
to deal with them. And then
Hmm.
he wanted a warm body because in the books he's yelling, "It's been 8 years since I've last touched a woman, blah blah blah." And you're
Please,
like,
I forgot about that.
"Okay." Your wife
Yeah,
was like depressed, so obviously, and then she
literally.
died and you're taking care of the kids and you haven't dealt with that emotion, so it's
No.
like,
Yeah, I there's
yep,
nothing redeeming about that man, and I literally I finished that book and I didn't read anymore. I That was August
exactly,
of 2022, and then I read Francesca's
exactly,
book like 2 weeks ago because Erin
exactly, because
requested
I
that
was
I
reading it,
continue.
but I was like, it was just so rough. I think that was one of the books that took me the longest to get through because I was like, it's just
It
not
makes
it.
no sense.
Mhm.
No, the characters, like, they ruin what the Eloise has going on. Philip is
Mhm.
not a man that I'm interested in any
Mm-mm.
capacity, not even as just
Mm-mm.
a character. Like,
Mm-mm.
forget the love interest aspect, he's boring.
He's
Like, I don't care,
boring and
like,
he doesn't know how to deal with his emotions. He's boring. He just stays in his little like greenhouse and then
yeah.
just is horny. So it's
What are we
like
gonna
I don't need
do? what are we gonna do with that
What are we
season,
gonna? I
y'all?
don't know, because I feel like if they don't give us like a hint of Sophie in this season, like it's obviously
Gotta
going to
be
be
Eloise.
Eloise.
Because the
Because
other
I
ones
feel
are too
like,
young still. And
huh?
Francesca's got too much to go on. It's the other ones are too young. Gregory and Hyacinth are too young, and Francesca's got to go through too much before.
I
So it's got to
feel
be either
like,
Eloise or Benedict.
well,
And
because like, doesn't Francesca, I know this is skipping ahead from what we were talking about, but doesn't Francesca meet what's his name? Michael. Or no, she meets John, and then 2 weeks later they're married, right? It's like,
so it's funny that you say that, because you were like, oh, it was in one of the epilogues of the book, and I don't remember which epilogue it was in, but it was very quick. But that's why so you're
yeah.
thinking like maybe that's how this season
So
ends.
I'm
But
assuming,
then,
yeah,
so you
I'm
think next
assuming
season
that they're,
could potentially also still be Francesca, potentially? Like
I
it could have, like,
well, it could be Francesca, but also they could just like do Benedict and have
yeah,
Francesca like married and
later
happy.
on.
And then
Yeah,
like
yeah,
the
yeah.
end of season 4, they could have, that's
Unfortunately,
where he, spoiler
or it
alert,
could be the start
passes
of season
away.
4. Well, because
True,
she
like
has to be a widow
something.
for kind of a long, not kind of a long time. It's like a couple
She's a
years
widow for like
though, 3 years.
5, I don't know why 5 is sticking out in my head, but it's
Yeah,
3 to
3
5
or
years,
5.
like she's a widow.
Yeah,
And then well, because he,
goes
is this
to
the right?
India.
Michael goes to India, and
Uh-huh.
that's
Yeah,
4
yeah,
years. So I think he
yeah. Okay,
dies,
4. Yeah,
then leaves shortly
yeah,
after, blah blah blah. Okay.
yeah.
Anyway,
But yeah,
that could
so
be
I
juicy
don't know.
actually if they did that, because I mean they're presenting Francesca into society, like we see that in the
Well,
trailer.
I do
So it's
think
like,
she's getting married this season. I mean, because she's got to be married and widowed in the next
exactly.
6 years.
Exactly.
So it's
So
like
I'm
I
thinking
think she
that could
might be
be,
actually getting married this season.
I think so. Doesn't well, I think Francesca in the book marries Michael the same time that Eloise and Philip and then Colin and Penelope get married. Does Colin and Penelope get married
Mm,
first?
oh yeah, Michael, her second husband.
Yes. Colin and
Yeah,
Penelope
yeah, yeah,
get
yeah.
married
Uh-huh.
first. Then
And then
Eloise
Eloise is
runs
very
off,
soon
gets
after.
married, and then they're in like Scotland or something, and
Yes,
they're not told. And then they're like,
Francesca and
what the
Michael.
heck? And
Uh-huh.
then Francesca
Yes,
and Michael just rush to get married.
yeah, yeah.
So,
That's all within like the same season. I would wager, like realistically, the
yeah.
3 of them, because Eloise runs off right
Well,
after Penelope and
the whole
Colin, and
reason
then
Eloise like goes to
yeah,
Philip is because her
yeah,
friend and her brother got
ditched
married.
her.
So it's
Uh-huh.
like, will that
She's
happen
bored.
at, that could happen at the end of season 3, but then I
That's
don't
very true.
think, I feel like they would give Eloise her season, you
But
know?
see, that's the whole thing, like, going out of order like this, like, they wrote them for a reason, like, Eloise ran away for a
Mhm.
reason, so, like, if we keep pushing Benedict, like, what's gonna happen?
Exactly.
He's
But also
never gonna get a season?
I feel like Benedict doesn't really like, his story
Not
doesn't
really in a
align with
place.
other, like intertwines with
Yeah,
others. Like we were just talking about
this
like
is true.
Colin,
Right, all
Eloise
3
and
of them kind of
Francesca, and
uh-huh,
then Hyacinth gets married like at, after, and then Gregory sees, Hyacinth, and Hyacinth's like, you need to get married, bro,
yeah,
kind of thing. So, oh,
yeah.
too
But
much.
AKA, we're not looking forward to Eloise this season. I don't know
No.
how they're gonna do
Redeem it.
any justice. Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
Because it's just like
people are
not a
thinking he's still
good,
gonna end up with him, but I don't know. How do you redeem it?
it's just like, you can't change it because her book is literally called To Sir Philip with Love. So it's like, how do you
Just
change
change
that?
the whole
Do you
love
know what I
interest.
mean? Like
Yeah,
just change it,
yeah,
because they could, if the book wasn't called that, they could just keep going with her and this little like
mhm.
newspaper
Theo?
guy. I can't remember what
Mhm.
his name is. But they could do that, but then it's To Sir Philip with Love. I'm sorry. And also,
I
one
know.
redeeming point of that whole book was in the second epilogue when one of his
Not the second epilogue,
I know, the like
the actual
40
end.
the 40 minutes second epilogue. I really liked Amanda, his daughter, grown up and like
Mhm.
out into the society, and I like who she, like I liked the beginnings of her story and like her, finding love with like the neighbor man or something. So like I
Yeah,
wouldn't be opposed
definitely.
to that, but that's just wishful thinking, let's be real. So
See, that's where Shondaland comes in. That's where the Grey's Anatomy of it all comes
Mhm.
in. We do
Just
a
keep I
second,
mean, give us the kid. Like, Daphne's already popped out, like, 2, 3 kids.
yeah.
All of these, like, Gregory's about to have 9
Well, he's gotta
kids. Like,
grow
that's
up. Yeah.
insane. So,
Okay, that was wild. That was I was
I was like,
shocked.
mm-mm,
I saw it
please
coming, but I was
no.
still shocked because I
Mhm.
saw
Like,
some
I knew
spoilers,
he was
but
having 9 kids, but I was like, "This is too much."
yeah. Um, yeah, we'll get there.
Yeah, we'll get
But
there.
I don't know. I don't think I can keep talking about Eloise. I think we gotta move
Yeah,
on, unfortunately.
we
I just
we
ran it
gave her
into the
enough
ground.
attention, yeah.
We
I
did.
mean, we could keep
So
hating on it, like, we're haters to the core, so, like, we can
this
keep
is
going,
true.
but we
It'll
don't
come
need
up again,
to.
I'm sure.
For
Yeah.
sure.
But I guess if
Alright,
we're
now
continuing
let's
our
move on to your
order,
number 1.
I know. I love Francesca's story.
Ready?
Yes, that nickname is not a vibe for me, but I don't know, something about so as we've already covered a little bit, Francesca gets married and then her husband, I think
John.
John, I think in the epilogue or like in between the 2 epilogues, she says like he basically had an aneurysm, because they don't know what it is. And like spoiler alert, in the Regency era, they don't know what it is. My book had like a little thing because it also talked about Michael's malaria. Did you have anything like that in your audiobook?
I don't think so. I thought
Okay. Maybe I'll
wait, didn't
screenshot
he
it and send it to you.
which one died at war? Oh, that was just Marina's or
Yeah, yeah,
Raina's
yeah.
guy.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
then well, no, actually wait, because I do remember it actually being so sad, like, when or
Yeah.
he just, like, goes to bed and then,
Yeah,
like,
he has a headache and then
he
he
has
just
a
like
headache, and so that would make
yeah,
sense.
yeah. I'm pretty sure in between the 2 epilogues, she had like a little note because she tried so Julia put this little like anecdote in about how she
Mhm,
did some research on how people wrote about malaria in the 1800s to make it seem because it's kind of like what we were talking about with like Anthony, like people like modern medicine wasn't quite the same. So
mhm,
she tried to so basically they don't know how he died, but
mm, mm,
Julia wrote it in her mind that it was basically like an aneurysm.
mm,
So that
mhm.
was so sad because Francesca's the one who finds him because his valet is
Yeah.
like, "Oh, do you want me to wake him?" And she's like, "No, I'll go up there," because he has a meeting that he's missing.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
he goes up there and finds him. And then Michael is there too. And they're
Mhm,
both the first 2 people there, which is just like
mhm,
so heartbreaking.
mhm.
And okay, the thing that I love about Michael, I think specifically, which like bought me immediately, is that he loved Francesca the whole time. And he was just going to let her
Yeah.
live her life with John and be
Mhm,
happy on her own. And he was
mhm,
just going to be sad on his own. And I was
mhm.
just like, I love that. Like, lover boy to the core where he was like so like loved her so much he was gonna like let her be
Yeah,
with like his
yeah.
cousin and it's like that sounds bad. It isn't. um so I just like that bought me in immediately. As soon as
Mhm,
Michael was like, I've been in love with Francesca since I met her, I was like, you're
mm.
the one for me. You
You're
are
like,
the one for
"I'm
me.
tuned in." Yeah.
I'm sad for sure.
Mhm.
Michael definitely has some anger issues that we're overlooking. We're
Little bit.
overlooking. It's
I
his
mean,
dream.
literally all of
I'm
them, all
okay.
of these biddies in
True.
these books have a little bit of
True.
anger issues, little something they
True.
need to work through.
Yes. But I feel like Michael and Francesca's like grief felt so palpable. Like it wasn't
Mm,
like like I believed them. And I do love that she did the time skip where he was in India for 4 years
yes,
and
me
she was
too.
like taking care of the
Taking care
house
of
because
the
that
house,
gave
yeah.
them time to grow, but I didn't have to watch them do that like
Mhm,
separate from each
mhm.
other.
It
Um
also gave them like, we
so
didn't have to watch them, like not that I mean, we didn't have to watch them, like, fully grieve. Like, we
yeah,
saw
yeah,
them, like, be sad, obviously, like, John died,
yeah.
blah, blah, blah. Sad. He's so sad, Michael's so sad he needs to leave. He can't be around
Mhm.
Francesca, who needs him, blah, blah, blah. And then she skips, and then it's like, they're still
Yeah.
sad, but, like, they're fine going about their daily lives. So I was like, "Okay, I
I
like
love
that
that.
better."
Yeah. And because, like, Francesca had been married before, I feel like that adds a whole different dynamic to their relationship too, because
Mhm,
they were able to kind of be in a relationship but not have the societal expectation, especially because they were in
mhm,
Scotland for most of the book. Well, the
mhm,
second half, I guess.
mhm,
So it was like nobody was really breathing down their neck about like what's improper. Cause like
mhm.
I do appreciate that in these books, but because it moves the story along. But
Yeah.
when you do it for all 8 books, it's like, all right, I'm a little,
I
we
need
get it.
something
You know what I
new,
mean?
something
Yeah, so this
different,
was
yeah.
something a little bit different, and
Mhm.
here we are again begging Shonda, "Girl, I need a man like Henry Golding cast as Michael. I need it like a
Please.
fish needs water. Like, I'm not kidding. I was picturing Henry Golding throughout the whole thing, and I think he's a little old. Like, no hate to my man. He's,
No.
mid-30s or
He's
whatever, but like,
gorge. But I
I love
think
you.
for
But
who Michael is, I think he needs like
yeah,
he's a little old,
we need
but
like an
it's okay.
unknown, like Malaysian British actor who's like 28 to play Michael. Like, but looks
Yes.
like Henry Golding to me.
Yes.
So
Agreed.
begging on my knees. That's all I could picture while I was reading, and I was just like,
Yeah.
this is it for me. Like, and especially, okay, we haven't talked about okay, so Francesca was originally played by Ruby Stokes in the first two seasons, and she has since been recast. So season 3, we got a new Francesca. From what I've seen in the trailer, I feel like the new Francesca kind of gives me a little bit more Francesca that I read from the book.
Same.
Not spoiler. Ruby Stokes was doing Lockwood and Co., which is why she left Bridgerton, and that got canceled. But they had already recast Francesca, so
Yeah.
I'm so sorry,
But also,
Ruby. I love you, but
wasn't she younger? So it like needed to be like a little older,
a little
too.
bit.
So
I think
makes sense.
the way they dressed her, it made her look 15. But I mean, she's I think early 20s in real life, but they made her look pretty young.
I think in like,
so,
well, once she gets married, she's like crisp 20.
Okay, because she's she gets married to Michael at like 26.
Yeah, I think
that would make sense. 4 or 5 years.
And then they're married for a while. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. Okay. And then I don't want to talk about this for long, but like the whole malaria aspect, like with Michael
was
having
weird.
malaria. Well, okay. The thing that was like scary to me, I was like, Julia is not about to do my girl Francesca like this. She already had one man die on her. Like,
I was like, you cannot, like, we cannot go through this again, please.
So it kind of kept me on my toes because I didn't think she was gonna do it, but then it's like, I don't know. Like,
she'll do anything, so it's like, who knows? Yeah.
I was just like, God, I can't live like this. But
seriously,
can't wait. We got to make it to season 5 at least. So
something. Well, no, we need to keep it till season 6 because I'm locked
and 7
in.
for,
Or 7
for your girl.
Yeah. Really, 8. I want to see Gregory too.
You're so right. If we're getting to 7, we're getting to 8. You know what I mean? Like, it's good.
How crazy would that be if they just were like, okay, that's it after like, and the last 2 books aren't done.
I know.
I was gonna say something about. I loved the dynamic of Michael being like a rake and not like, and just being like a playboy, but not actually, because he like was just like he was just sleeping over like Francesca, but he just like the whole town thought he was like this like playboy, and I was like, I love this. It was kind of like cheeky, but I loved it.
Yeah, no, I just
that added to their like
only good things to say about Michael. Forget that he almost punches a wall in one of the scenes.
Forget
about it. Because everything else about him is good and redeeming.
Exactly.
It's just like compared to, like, she could not have written that book at a better time. Right after Eloise, where I was down in the dumps and hating everything about
needed
that man, and then we get Michael.
Needed it. Yeah.
We needed him.
Yeah.
Oh my God. That's all I have to say about him and that book, I think. But
I loved it. I think because it also gave like, I feel like a lot of the like before ones were like, we get a lot of dynamic from the Bridgerton like sibling, but then we don't get much from the other, like their love interest or whatever. I feel like that kind of changed with Sophie, but like not really. And since we had known Penelope with the Featheringtons before, like we got all that, but it really like, I feel like Francesca and Michael's book was really the first one that gave us like a good amount of Michael and a good amount of Francesca as well. So I really liked that with it.
Agree.
Shall we move on?
We should. And I'll let you take the lead because Hyacinth was 5 for me. So
Hyacinth and Gareth. I think what I really liked, as I was just going off of saying the like depth of like the casting, I think I really liked that it started out with Gareth's story, and we got more of Gareth in the book, and it was just like about him, about his fam. Didn't his brother die too?
Yeah, he did.
Yes. And
They
so
didn't say how, but
he became like the Lord or something, like after his dad died or something.
yeah, was he like an
But
earl? Like he was kind of high up, I think.
yeah.
Because she's like a countess.
Something.
She's like
Yeah.
she's kind of high up.
Yeah. I don't know. I just really, something about it just grabbed me in, and I was like, I like their dynamics. I like how
Yeah.
Hyacinth
They
is
were
like
kind
kind
of
of
giving friends to
spunky.
lovers, weren't they? Like
They
they were
were, and I'm normally
pretty.
not like like I don't normally gravitate towards friends to lovers, but like I was eating it up because I
It
was
felt natural. Their banter
yeah.
at the very beginning, I really liked, and I loved Lady Danbury's involvement throughout the
That also
whole.
elevated the book
Yeah,
for me because it was just
yes,
like Lady D was like
present.
Hyacinth's
She was there.
bestie.
No, for real.
And
I need that in the show. I need them to be
I do
like
too. Yeah. I need them
sisters. Like
like
I need them to be
tied
tight like
together.
that.
And
Yeah.
also, well, that since Gareth is her grandson.
Well, because we saw Lady Danbury's son in Queen Charlotte, didn't we? So
Okay, we see Lady Danbury's son in Queen Charlotte. That's okay, that's another thing we need to like circle
I
back to after
know.
this.
Queen Charlotte, I don't even know if we'll get to the into this
I
episode,
know.
but
Wait
yeah,
for
yeah.
Bridgerton episode 3, podcast listeners. But it was just like, I don't know. I just really loved that dynamic. I really loved like Gareth and Hyacinth.
You know,
I know
there's
you
like
said the jewels annoyed you, but I was
yeah,
locked in. I was like, I love the like super secret
the
spy
mystery, the
moment,
sneaking
like
out,
going
yeah.
there, like, and her
See, I
finding it. And
think
I mean, towards the end, like in the epilogue, like that, I was like, okay, this is OD.
yeah,
But like
uh-huh.
before the epilogue, I was eating it. I was eating.
Yeah. I think like her book probably has the most plot out of all of the books, like
Mm-hmm.
generally speaking. Like there's definitely obviously still the love is kind of at the forefront, but
Mm-hmm.
it is very like you were saying, the jewels is a big plot
Yeah.
point, like
It
her
felt
and
like
Lady
she was
Danbury's
like
friendship,
they
like
were
there was
doing
actually things
something
happening.
else. Yeah, it
Hmm.
not just like, oh, I'm a spinster. Oh, now I'm, finding love. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm getting married in a week. Like it just seemed like there was more depth again to the story.
Also, one of my favorite things about this book, even though it was like lower down for me, I know I texted you about this when Gareth asked for Anthony's permission to marry
Yes.
Hyacinth.
The
I
only
was
one to do
obsessed
it.
with that.
The only
Like
one
out
to
of
do it.
we're at book 7 and this is the first person to ask Anthony for permission. We're
Literally, that's the
joking.
historical inaccuracies like they're talking
Yeah.
about. Like that, it was just,
Yes.
I was gagged. I was like, oh my gosh, she's asking. And he was like, I mean, I'll give you permission, but like, it's up to
If she'll
Hyacinth to
have
say
you.
yes. Like,
Yeah.
if she'll have you.
And
And I was like, I
talking
love
Gareth
that because
out
he
of
wasn't,
it.
he was like
He's like, "Are
talking him
you
out of it,
sure
but
you
he
wanna
was
do this?
like,
Like, I'll give you an out if you don't ask her. I won't tell her about this conversation." It's like,
exactly. And I was like,
"Anthony,
okay, fair,
hello?
Anthony, but like, don't do your sister like that.
No.
But I was
She's your
like,
last sister."
last sister, and he was like, thank God I'm finally done. I was like, yes, I love this. But I don't know. I think I really liked Gareth, so that like elevated
Yeah.
the story for me clearly to
He
number
felt very
one.
real. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He had a lot going on
Mm-hmm.
with his dad and his family, and it
Yeah.
felt we did get a lot of backstory for him. I feel
Mm-hmm.
like after book 6, we really started to get more did we? Was it is that when she started changing POVs a little bit? Because we would get chapters from Garrett's perspective and
I
from
think so.
Michael's,
Yeah,
so
it would
I
definitely
don't
not
think she
even
did
just
that
chapters, it would like
before.
flip like
Yeah.
in the middle of the chapter it would be like, oh,
I
and
don't
then
remember her
I
doing
blah blah
that for
blah.
the first 5 books. I
No.
remember, like, Eloise's book only being from her perspective, so I think
Yeah.
that
Well,
adds a level of, like,
at the beginning
devotion,
it
I don't know.
seemed, was it more okay in the first like 4 books, was it more like Lady Whistledown's perspective of like
Oh,
outside
a little
looking
bit
in?
more
Not that
third
it was like Lady
party?
Whistledown like knowing, but it was like outside looking
A little
in.
bit more
And then when,
yeah,
Lady
maybe.
Whistledown is exposed, like it's from Eloise's perspective. It's from,
Yeah. That
Francesca
would make
and then
sense,
Michael's
actually. I think
son.
you might be onto something
Mhm.
there.
Yeah.
I love that. But,
So,
yeah, I think that adds a layer because clearly we were buying it. Like, it gave more to, like,
mhm.
the emotions that they were feeling. Like, I believe that Michael and
Exactly.
Gareth loved those girls, you know what I mean? Like, I believe
Exactly. And they weren't just
versus, like,
like,
Philip does not love Eloise. Like, I don't I don't believe that for a second.
There,
So,
no
it's
one
just,
can
like,
pay
a
me enough to
dynamic.
believe that it is real.
Agreed.
But it just is like, I don't know. It just those like Michael and Gareth, like those were the guys. It didn't seem like they were forced into marrying these girls,
Also so true.
and that like the other ones
Adds a
were.
layer. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's true.
even
That's
if
true.
like even with Benedict, he's not forced into marrying Sophie. Like he obviously wants to marry her, but like
But it's a
she's
different
low-key
perspective.
forced
It's
into
just
marrying
different.
him because he's like went in the jail. He's like my fiance, and she's like,
Yeah.
what? Like I'm not gonna be your mistress, and
Yeah.
so
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. There's definitely a lot of good aspects to Hyacinth's
mm-hmm,
story.
mm-hmm.
And I see why you like her. I mean, I like her generally, love her friendship with
Yeah,
Lily D and
I
all of
think
that. And I
yeah,
love
it
that
was
she's
just
very
like
independent
all of it.
too. But
Yeah,
yeah,
and she was like, I'm ready to
I'm
get
just here.
away. Like I'm
I'm
trying.
vibing. Yeah.
She was like, I'm nosy. My room's above the like front door. So I'm
I
like trying to
love
see. I
that.
loved that. I
Yeah.
loved that she was like wearing her brother's like outfit. She was like running out. She was like, and Gareth's like,
Okay.
what are you wearing? She's like, well, I can't be
The
secretive in a
way
dress. Like,
though,
what do you mean?
the
That
way
was
I was
so funny.
laughing because like, like in today's day and age where it's like my shoulders are not turning boys on. It's like in the book he's literally like those
He's
pants
like,
make her
oh
calves
my
look so
gosh.
beautiful. It's like, whoa, give me
I was like,
some
what are
high
we
school
doing
dress
here?
code issue. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Giving
but
like my shoulders will turn a man on and I need to cover them up in school. Like that's what that was giving me. Those outfits, but I
exactly.
loved it.
That's where they got
I
it
mean,
from.
so true. Oh man, should we cover our boy Greg, our
Yes,
king, our
Gregypoo,
other king?
our
He was
little
our top three
buddy.
for both of us.
He was. And it's just like
I wasn't expecting that.
I wasn't either because and even like the first few chapters, I was like, oh God.
Same.
But then
Yes.
like when he, met Lucy, he started like interacting with her and like
Hmm.
she helping him get what's her name? Hermione.
Hermione.
Hermione, that was a mess.
It
But
was.
him like them interacting, I was like, oh wait. And then like when he finally realized that he was like into her, I was like, okay. And then he just became a
Yeah.
simp. One thing about
Yeah.
Gregory, he's a simp till he dies. Like he literally simp,
Hmm.
even for Hermione, simp. Then that happened.
That
Like
is Anthony's son. That is Anthony sniffing the air
literally,
after Kate. Like that's Gregory.
that's Gregory. And it was like so good that it was just like, I don't know. I just loved the simpiness of it.
Once we took off, like we could have.
Mhm.
His book was way too long. Let's start there. Like I love him.
Yeah,
Why
it
was
was.
it 500 pages? What's that about?
Girl.
Not that much happened in that book.
But also I feel like
But
they jumped to a lot of like locations. Like it or just
true,
like different
true.
area like
Like different weddings and stuff.
yeah,
Yeah,
different
because all of a
weddings,
sudden
they have
Hermione's
different
married. All of
balls,
a
different da da
sudden,
da. And I
yeah.
was like, this is a lot, but we
Yeah,
kept
but
going.
we could have cut out the whole Hermione thing, I feel like. Like, I
Mhm.
did not care about them together at all. I didn't like he's like, "I made her laugh at breakfast." I don't give a fuck,
Did
Gregory. Like, I'm
you?
sorry.
Greg, did you?
No, for real. She's, like, laughing at her own joke.
She's
So I just, like I didn't really like them, and she was around for way too long. It was, like, 30% of the book, and he's still, like,
I
simping over her. I'm like,
know.
"What?
I was like, where
Lucy's
are
around the
we?
corner."
I know it says Lucy, so Lucinda, like where is
Yes.
she?
Yeah.
Let's talk
But
about
once we got
Hermione though.
rolling
First of all, once
yeah.
we got rolling, we ate good. We
Yeah, we did.
ate
We
good.
did. Yeah.
Let's talk about Hermione and like her story just quickly because like her lying about liking like her dad's or someone's secretary or something, and
Yeah, it
then
was her dad's
really,
secretary.
but then really liking Lucy's brother, like, or was
Well,
it just like
so
it just
okay.
seemed weird to me that it was
Yeah, the
like,
problem was she actually did think that she was in love with her dad's secretary. She
yeah,
actually thought that, and they were writing love letters or whatever. And then I
mm,
guess after she spent some time with Lucy's brother while they were at Aubrey Hall with the
mm-hmm,
Bridgertons,
mm-hmm,
she ended up realizing what she felt for the secretary was not actually love, and that she
mm,
actually really
mm-hmm.
loves him. But I know I texted you this. Like, I was really hoping that it was all a ploy, that the secretary wasn't real and that she was actually writing letters to Lucy's brother, and
Exactly,
then
like, that's
that
what
they
I
didn't
was
want to
hoping
tell her,
too.
didn't want her to find
Yeah.
out. So then when it actually came out that she actually loved that other guy or, like, loved him,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
then this was just, like, a whole separate side quest, I was like, "That's kinda stupid, actually."
It
Like,
was
I could have written this a
yeah.
little better.
Absolutely. And then
Low
also,
key.
like, this whole Bridgerton books, like, I hate when they're like, "Oh, they're in a compromising position, so they have to get
Yeah,
married
yeah.
immediately." Like, and I get that
So
that
really, they
was,
were
like,
engaged,
back
like,
in the
20 minutes after
day.
being found in the orangery, come on.
Literally. And, like, the author is like, "And 20 minutes later, they showed up and there's an engagement." And
Yeah.
then Gregory, our poor boy, is so sad. But it just it felt weird. Like, I didn't like that
Yeah.
part of the story, and I could have gone without it.
Well, because they were trying to do this whole, like, love at first sight thing, like, may not be real. That's, like, the vibe I was getting, because like, that was
Yeah.
basically Hermione had love at first sight with her dad's secretary and didn't actually love her, and then Gregory had
Mhm.
love at first sight with Hermione, but didn't actually
Mhm.
love her, like, loved Lucy, but
Mhm.
it's like, we don't really need that. We don't really
That was
that
an
whole thing doesn't
unnecessary
make
side
sense.
quest for us. Like, I
Yeah,
get,
for
like,
both of
that's
them.
how in the book, like, Lucy is like, "Oh, I'm always overshadowed by Hermione, blah, blah, blah."
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I get that that could have been, that was part of the thing, and that, like, Lucy's, like, true love is right there, but simping over,
Mhm.
Hermione or whatever. But I just felt like we could have gone about it differently. Like, we
We
could
definitely
have
could've.
something like Gregory still could have been in love with Hermione, but, like,
Mhm.
the reason that he's not in love with her anymore is because she was caught in a
He actually,
compromising
like
position with
yeah,
Lucy's
yeah, it was
brother,
kinda weird.
and it was just weird. But then, like, towards the middle/end, I can't remember, but he was like, "It was always you," like, blah, blah. I was like, "Was it? You barely
I
noticed her." You were
know.
like, "Oh, that frump next to her," and then, like,
I
"Here's my beautiful
know.
woman with shoulders, blah, blah, blah." So,
Yeah. Although what yeah, as we've mentioned, once his book popped off, it popped off. So, like,
yes,
we're gonna skip way ahead. We're skipping to the end of this book because nothing happens in the
please.
middle. He gets over Hermione and we call it a day. The way that I was shocked that Lucy's married, like,
Yes!
straight up, they okay,
I
so
was gagged when she
who
actually got married
yes,
to,
yeah, so, like,
whoever it
I knew she
was.
was gonna be going to the altar with yeah,
Yes,
whoever that man
we
is.
see
I
we
knew
see
they were
it
gonna
at the
be at the altar.
beginning
We do
of
the
the book, like,
prologue, it
that's the
ends there.
prologue, and she's like,
When
"What do
Gregory
you
comes
say?"
in and he says, "Will you marry me?" And she says, "No."
She says,
I
"No."
was
He's dragged
gagged.
out of there, and then she's
Yes.
like, "Okay, now we're married."
They literally go through
I
with the
was
whole
like,
ceremony. I was literally gagged. I was like, "How are they getting out of this? Like, she's literally married. How
"Exactly.
do they end up together?" And then there's
Exactly.
the loophole with, like, they haven't, what did they call it? So
Consummated
stupid,
the
I can't remember.
marriage.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
remember that. But they haven't done that, that's like they could still get an annulment. I was like, "Okay,
Yeah.
loophole, like, I love that, but also,
Sure.
what?" Like,
And
I didn't see
also,
that
like,
coming.
whoever she married was like, he was like, "I mean, I don't care, like, it's not like, you can
Yeah.
get married to him, you can get married to me, like, doesn't matter."
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
that also
But it
worked
would
out in their
be
favor. And
this
then,
is
like,
true. Yes.
Lucy's uncle being like,
Blackmailing
"Your
her.
dad has debt, your dad has debt," or he, like,
No, it's
was
treason.
treason. Your
Yeah, yeah,
dad, like,
yeah.
would
Against
be arrested for
Napoleon or no,
treason, blah, blah.
towards
Exactly. And then her, like, having to get married because homeboy's dad has the receipts.
was, like, the roommate.
Um,
Yeah.
and then that was just crazy. And then that whole fight scene of, like, first of all, Gregory locking up Lucinda in, like, a water closet. Like, what's happening here? What
I
are we
know,
doing?
like, that's your bride, man. Like, you
That's who
locked
you
her in a
just asked
closet
to
and
marry,
tied
like, while
her.
she's at the altar.
Yes.
Like, what do you mean? He's like,
Yes.
"Stay
Like, he was
there." She's like,
unhinged.
"Hello." Gregory was unhinged, and I really loved that about him, that
Me
he
too,
was
because
just
I didn't
like,
see any of it coming. I was just like, all of a sudden, she's tied up in a
"No,
water closet, and he's like, "If I didn't tie you up, though, you'd leave." And she's like, "You're right." And it's like,
you're
what?
correct. Like, I will be loyal to the man that I said I do to. So, like,
I mean,
here's
she's a ride
this."
or die bitch. I'll give her that. Like,
Exactly.
let's
Like,
go,
we
Lucy.
love
Like,
that. Like,
but
but it
like,
was just so
hello?
crazy. I was like,
Yeah,
"Woo."
yeah.
This is
Wait,
and
but she
then,
was
like,
marrying an earl too. Like marrying an earl and then a
mhm,
fourth son.
the
Like,
4th
girl,
son?
girl,
So, yeah,
that
that
she
was
married for love. Like for real.
exactly, like, they married for love. So
Yeah.
and then the, random, like, fight scene, the gun that's pulled, like
Please.
with
I did cackle though, because at the beginning we find out that Gregory's a bad shot, and then at the end, Lucy's brother gives him a gun and is like, "Here, take this in case you need it." And Gregory
yeah,
literally says like, "Please pray I don't need it."
and then he's like, "Pow pow,
Such
yeah,
a
I
bad
do need
shot.
it."
Yeah.
Yeah, he was like, "At
Oh,
least I got one
but
shot right." I said, "I love this for you, Gregypoo."
I know. But like there we are again with like, why did that violence even need to, why are we shooting up like a library?
That
Like
was crazy. Yeah,
uh,
and he well, no,
come
wasn't he
on.
like
Was it like a study
attacking?
or something?
I think
Well,
he
because
wasn't the
so
like uncle
Uncle
like
was holding
on.
a gun to Lucy's head,
Yes,
and so
yes, yes, yes,
they,
yes.
him, Gregory, and Lucy's brother come in with guns and be like,
It
"Hey,
was a
like,
mini duel moment.
yeah, yeah." So
Mm-hmm.
like, I stopped. What?
Exactly.
What?
Yeah, but
That was crazy. It was a wild
that
ride, especially
it was a
like to
wild
get to book
ending. Yeah.
8 and be like,
And I was like,
"It's
this is
in the
brand new
van."
information. I thought it would just be
Yeah,
kind of like similar to the same
same info.
vibe that the rest of them have been, but I was like, oh, oh, oh,
Yeah,
what? So
literally, what a journey that we went on.
honestly, I loved it. And I loved that we were like reading it together for and I
For
was
the
like,
most
okay,
part, yeah.
yeah,
Me too, because it
love
did
it.
add to it. Because especially the first 5, like, I whipped through them and it was just like,
Hmm.
I was vibing, but, like, I had no outlet. It was just in my brain, just in my
Exactly. And I
noggin,
was
and
just
it's like,
texting you. I was just like, I know you
yeah.
haven't read these in 2 years, but I'm gonna share my thoughts right here, right now. And you were like,
And I
okay.
loved it.
So there we
That's what I
go.
needed in my life.
Exactly.
So,
So
we're begging for 8 seasons at least,
yeah.
maybe a spinoff or 2. We already got 1
Yeah.
spinoff. We already got Queen Charlotte.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly. Oh,
fingers
speaking of
crossed.
Queen Charlotte, thank you so much for bringing that back because I needed to talk about there was in the trailer for Bridgerton, we see
Yeah.
a scene of Lady Danbury and a tall drink of water next to her.
Yeah,
I think like, and then the conspiracy theories have come out, and now
yeah.
people are like, is that her son, or is
Mhm.
that Queen Charlotte's? No, yes, Queen Charlotte's brother. Did you see
Yes.
the TikTok
Yeah,
I
yeah,
sent
yeah.
you?
Yeah,
Okay,
uh-huh, about
so
the
I was
brother. Yeah, yeah,
like,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I was like, ooh, like both of these, I'm intrigued because this man in the teaser, we see him chatting up Violet Bridgerton, which
Uh-huh.
I love that for my queen.
I know, I would actually love for her to get a love interest. She never does in
I
the
would
books, and I
too.
know
Yeah.
Francesca asked her at one point, like, "Why did you never remarry?" Because I remember Violet being like, "None of my kids have asked me that." But, like,
Mhm.
I feel like she's at a point, like,
Mhm.
Anthony's got this on lock, like,
Mhm.
you could use like,
She
love
could
in your
just
life,
she could
Violet,
be a little love at number 5. Like she could be there.
Yes. Like, she's got her
Um
kids, and we love that for her, but, like,
And she's still taking care of
that
like
leaves so
Hyacinth and
much.
Gregory and Francesca, like
Mhm.
but Francesca, like we're
She's
clearly
getting
she's
married this
getting
season for
married soon.
sure.
So it could be something.
Something could
Um
happen.
Exactly. So I don't know who it is, but I am hopeful because like in Queen Charlotte, we see like young Violet Bridgerton, and
Mhm.
then we see like younger Lady Danbury's son. So that could be it.
Uh-huh.
Or Lady no, no, Queen Charlotte's brother. He was older than Queen Charlotte, but like we don't
But
really know
not
how
by
old this
much,
man
really.
is. Yeah.
Yeah. He
We
looked
don't really know how old this man
still
is.
early
So
20s and that, yeah,
mhm.
generally. Yeah.
So I'm excited to
I would
find
love
out
that.
who that is. And if it's
Yeah,
neither
and
of them, rewrite it.
true. I love that, and I love that the girls put that together for us because,
I do
spoiler
too.
alert,
I
I
wouldn't have
didn't
thought
finish
of that.
Queen Charlotte.
We
Sorry,
know.
everyone, I didn't finish it. So I love that you guys are connecting the dots for me on lore that I didn't experience. I just
Yeah.
got kind of bored. I feel bad for saying that because I know like so much happened, but
Mhm.
I made it like
Mhm.
halfway, I think. Something like that.
It'd be like that.
Something just didn't hit for me. I don't know.
Yeah. It just
Maybe because like
I towards
it's
the
just
end
the
it
two of
did get
them. Because
it
like at
did
least
get
with
really
like
good with
Bridgerton,
that, and
there's
then
like
they're like
so much going on.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, but they did still have so much going on because then we got like Lady
Well, yeah, with
Danbury's story, we
Edmund and
got like
true.
even Violet's story, we got, stories about
That's
their
true.
2 like right-hand men. So
Mhm.
It was
This is true.
good
This is true.
time.
Maybe I'll swing back before season 3 just to wrap it up.
Just to see, yeah. I mean,
See
it's
what I'm
4
missing.
episodes.
I
Like
don't
that
think
you're
it's much.
probably not, but
I will stand with you between the heavens and the earths. I will tell you where you. I know what happens. I don't need to watch.
that's at the beginning. There's more at the end. No, I'm kidding.
Anyway.
Wow. What a
What a
journey we
ride.
just went on. Thank you for listening, everybody. Do we have loves and icks?
Seriously.
I have one single love.
Actually. Okay, I have a love and an ick, I think. Let me see.
Okay.
Let me get my
I'll
notes
go
pulled back
first
up.
while you
Okay,
look at that.
check it out.
My love is TikTok lives. I love just joining a TikTok live and just sitting there watching it. And if you watch for long enough, you get like the drama from people that they're like spilling tea and you don't know anything about it, but they're like, oh yeah, and then this person said this, like, if you don't hear from my mouth, don't listen to it, blah blah blah, and they're doing like whatever they're doing. And I was like, I love this. Usually since I'm on Clean Talk, it's usually like people making their potions and concoctions and then like talking about drama, and I'm like, I love this. So that is my love of TikTok lives. Also, I just remembered today, while we're filming this, is Jonathan Bailey's birthday. So happy birthday to my king.
Happy birthday. I love him.
Happy birthday to Zenny Bridgerton. Anyway.
Yes, Zenny Bridgerton. My ick is how easily influenced I am.
Yeah. We went on a full 20-minute tangent about the Bridgerton candle.
I know. It's funny because I wrote this down with something else in mind, but then in this episode,
we went on a full ad. Yeah.
That's so funny. I wrote this because I read a cowboy romance this week, and I read one about a year ago, and it was like in it. I was like, I need a cowboy in my life. And then this also happened with hockey, where I started reading hockey romance. Yeah, and I was like, you need more hockey in my life. Hockey. And then I read this cowboy book earlier this week, and now I'm again listening to country music. Yeah, I mean, like more consistently because like I country for a little bit. But if I read a book, I'm probably going to be like influenced by it. And
absolutely,
we talked about that earlier this episode, and it just
we don't need to go back.
Yeah, and I'm sure that carries over to like actual things that I've bought too. Like I know I've bought whatever. We're moving on.
Absolutely.
My love is okay. I mentioned Henry Golding in this episode already, but I just watched A Simple Favor, and he is Blake Lively's husband in that movie, and he's so fucking on. Just like I love him. I love him so much. Also, he kind of looks like Scott, which I think is funny, but
you have a type now.
I love him. But yeah, that's all I got. And I don't think we have any other requests from Medea for this one.
I don't think so either. So love that.
Well, this has been a ride for us.
This has been a ride.
I'm sure.
I'm so thankful to the listeners who have kept up with us like the past 2 episodes. We appreciate you so much. We appreciate all our listeners, but like especially the ones who get deep into our niche topics. Like we appreciate you.
This is arguably a little niche, only because we deep dove into 8 books. We could have just talked about the show and called it a day, but we went.
We did like when we talked about. When we talked about the show, we did talk about it for a good 30 minutes, and then we're like, okay, let's talk about the next 3 books. Like,
right, exactly.
Oh gosh.
Exactly. So thank you to all of our listeners, and I think that's that on that. You might get another Bridgerton episode the way we got shit to
honestly say. after the show comes out, we'll have a whole nother thing to say.
I know. But thank you all, and we will see you next week. Bye.
Bye.